Hi everyone, this is Gaurav. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at ClickUp. Today we have Kipp Bondar, the CMO of HubSpot, joining us for a conversation around how a culture of productivity can impact the customer lifecycle. Hi Kipp, thank you for making time to join us today.
Hey, Gaurav. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Great, let's dive in. So Kipp, we have seen a lot of transformation in how businesses acquire and engage customer. It seems like we are going through another period of transformation. From your perspective, variables like pandemic, the rise of hybrid work, async work, and now the downturn, how have these variables impacted the customer journey?
Yeah. So when you think about the customer journey, there are a few things that have happened. First, you've had this unprecedented run of what I call aggregation. Tools like Google, Facebook, growing wildly, having an undue audience, and basically businesses relying on them as a major tool to grow, both paid and organically, right? And then you saw all the money get injected into the economy during the pandemic, and it really brought the competition on those platforms up. And then you had governments coming in with data privacy regulations that really changed your ability to track and understand the ROI of your marketing, and then subsequently the ROI of your entire customer journey through sales, right? And because of that, costs went way up and predictability went way down. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is embarking on us a new journey that we're on, where we're spending too much money. We don't know what exactly the perfect ROI is. Our teams are more disconnected than ever. And you touched on the pandemic and the recession. It has caused our teams to be so disconnected, Gaurav. If you think about it, it's like we were forced to be apart in the pandemic. And now in the recession, one of the first things every company does is, I'm going to cut back on travel. I'm going to cut back on discretionary spending because of this uncertain climate that we're in. And given all of that, what we at HubSpot think of it as like we're in this crisis of disconnection where so many factors have come to play that our teams are more disconnected from each other. And then subsequently, they're more disconnected from our customers.
That's such a great perspective. In so many ways, how do we make work more human? In what sense have you seen the customer expectations shift?
Well, right. I think one of the things we've seen the last couple of years in this hybrid remote world is that customer expectations have shifted. One, in terms of impatience, right? The need for real-time engagement has never been higher. The need for asynchronous engagement has never been higher. Oh, I don't want to get one-on-one live real time with somebody. I want a bot, or I want to get a video on demand. I want to self-serve at my own pace because my lifestyle is totally different. There was a long time where people were, workers, parents, partners, all within like the same hour of their life, and even post-pandemic, a lot of that schedule is still here, and the expectations of that schedule for sure remain. And so I think if you're a business and you're thinking about your customer experience right now, you have to think about, wow, my customers are more impatient than ever. They need more asynchronous self-serve ways of working with my company than ever. And they expect my company to have its act together, from its data, from its productivity to its workflows, to know about them, to solve their problem quickly. Because one of the things we saw over the last couple of years was more businesses being started than ever before in human history. And with all those businesses coming online was more competition. So if you weren't delivering a strong enough experience, that customer will just go someplace else, right? They have more and more options. And that is putting pressure on everybody to deliver a better and better experience.
And you talk about delivering a better experience, right? Delivering excellent customer experiences require coordination across multiple teams. Given the shifts that you just mentioned, where are you seeing companies falling short and why?
Yeah. So when you're thinking about like the cracks, what we call the cracks in the customer experience, or really the disconnects in this crisis of disconnection, why are teams disconnected from each other? They're disconnected in a few ways. They're disconnected because they've disconnected systems. They might have a productivity system like ClickUp and a CRM like HubSpot, and they don't have them integrated. We got a great integration. You should go and integrate those things, right? Or it's the average company is using like 150 different subscription software applications. And because of that, it creates a bunch of what we call crevices between all of them, where if you don't have the right integrations, the right system strategy, it just all falls apart. The next thing is data. So a lot of companies don't have the right centralized database of their first party, the data that they've owned and created, as well as any third party data, or their data might live in multiple systems. One thing we see a lot is data has gotten really dirty and like poorly maintained over the last several years. And because of that, you might be talking to a customer. If you're a customer support rep, you might have half of their data on their profile be out of date, or you might be sending a follow-up email to an old email address, right? Those are the issues that are the root cause of causing all of these disconnects. And then finally, a lot of it's like the way we engage with our customers have changed. There's so many businesses are thinking about the channels and methods of engagement of kind of years gone by versus like, oh, I need to have, a really great chat experience on my website. I need to have a WhatsApp engagement experience with my customers, or I need to be on TikTok and YouTube to have the right short form video experience to really train and educate my customers. How customers are receiving information is changing. It's changing dramatically by generation, right? The number one brand for Generation Z is YouTube. Gen Z is our video first generation. And if you do not understand that as part of your customer experience, you're going to be leaving the next generation of your customers behind.
That's such a great insight. Are there any brands that come to mind that have really honed in this craft? They're excellent at mastering the customer journey in the current times?
Yeah, when you think about brands, what I think is that different brands are great at different parts of the customer journey, right? I think one of the hard thing about it is getting all of the pieces really, really tight and really, really strong, right? Like I think Airbnb has done a great job on like evolving its policies for hosts around regulations, as well as investing in design and user experience to make the matching of folks on its platform way better. And I think if you're somebody who's looking for a rental on Airbnb, it's much better and requires much less human intervention today than it did a long time ago. So like, I think they've done a very nice job at like that particular part of the process, right? But there's, I think, gaps in everybody's customer experience today. And I think where you have to come in and say like, where's my most acute problems? Like that at HubSpot, like that's what we think about. It's like we listen to customer feedback. We have a customer advisory board, and we have a monthly customer call with different customers on a very specific topic, whether it be our onboarding experience, whether it be our freemium software experience, and really dive in there and understand what's working, but more importantly, what's not working. And how do we need to iterate on that to get the next level? Because we know our customers have more choice than ever. And through tools like Net Promoter School surveys, customer advisory boards, that is how you actually build great experience. There's not one brand that's building a great experience, but there are a lot of great brands who are building great feedback loops with their customers to improve on their experience. And I think that's what we should all be striving for.
You also spoke a little bit about how culture of productivity is needed to transcend silos. Is there a particular brand that comes to mind that has done a great job at honing in on that with regards to customer lifecycle and engagement?
Look, I think one of the things that I love and admire about ClickUp is I think you all live your product and do a great job. So you're obviously at the top of the list there. But I think there are a ton of great companies that are doing that. I think the folks over at Lemonade have done that. Folks at Shopify. I think there are a bunch of great brands who realize that productivity is an important part of their customer experience.
Thank you for that plug. That's awesome.
Of course.
Especially coming from you. Shifting gears slightly, right, and coming back to the customer experience, what does trust mean in the current world, and how does one deliver that consistently?
Oh, that is a tremendous question. And when you think about what trust means today, that definition, I think, changes a lot. And we're in a period of uncertainty. The thing I would remind everybody watching this is like, there's never been a harder time to forecast a business's performance. And because of that, there's just a whole host of uncertainty. And we're seeing in the news cycle, a bunch of stories around companies who have failed because they didn't own the trust of their customers and didn't maintain the trust of their customers. And so trust is both more scarce and it is more about certainty than ever before. So for most people right now, it is certainty and steadiness in a very volatile time is kind of the proxy for trust. And so if you are a brand who wants to build trust with your audience, first, you have to be remarkably consistent. You have to tell people exactly what to expect of you, and you need to deliver on that day in and day out. And anytime you make a mistake, you need to be very, very upfront about it, because people are craving stability and predictability right now. And the companies that can give that to their customers are going to really set themselves out from the pack in the next generation of what we're going through the next couple of years.
That's a great insight. Because we are at a productivity conference,
Of course.
how do you translate that call for stability and remaining steady internally for your team? What does that mean for the marketing teams? How do you make them more productive in how they handle the uncertainty?
Yeah. So if you want a team to be certain and have steadiness and have trust, you first have to be transparent. You have to tell them everything that's happening. You have to have a clear strategy and articulate that to them. You have to give them access to all the data so that they understand that it's not just you're telling them, that they have the same data that you have, and they understand the situation that the business is in. And once they have the clarity around the strategy and the transparency around the performance, then what you need to do is empower them with process, right? Because if you're going to create a clear and steady team, they all have to be working off the same application, the same process. They need to be leaving notes for each other, not in 5 different productivity apps, but like one productivity app, because that is how you actually bring people together, because that breeds more and more transparency, right? It creates a cycle of transparency around that process and transparency around what's happening and what's going well and what's not going well. And the thing that I always tell my team, and I try to tell everyone, is I believe that humans are inherently good, and that we make the very best situation in the very best decision in the situation we're in. And we're not going to go litigate past decisions. We now that we're in the future, we have new data. We're going to make another decision that's just as good. We're not going to dwell on our past mistakes. And so having the transparency of everybody in one productivity suite and building within that application that kind of consistent process, you can really deliver on that and kind of move past any mistakes much faster than the average team.
What advice do you have for businesses looking to uplevel how they manage and improve their customer relationships?
Oh my gosh. What I would tell you is improving how you manage your customer relationships is an unfair advantage in the coming several years. There is a craving for trust, as we were just talking about. There's a craving for simplicity with your customers. They want to feel like there's a human connection there between you and them. They want you to feel like you're on their side. And so it comes back to some of the things we were talking about earlier. If you really want to measure and manage your customer relationship, it's about increasing your connection with your customers. And that connection, again, happens through really integrated systems and being really clear on, I use this system for this specific use case for my customers. This is how it helps. And it's integrated into my core platform for customer engagement, whether it be HubSpot, whether it be something else. Like, that is what's really important to make happen. And then once you have that system clarity, then you need the data clarity, because the better data you have, the better connection you're going to have, and the better reporting and analysis that your team is going to have to continue to iterate and improve on that customer experience, right? And so those are 2 hugely, hugely important things. And then the last one is having the right feedback loops with your customers. What I will tell you is nobody makes something perfect by guessing and assuming. Right? You make something, you have a best guess, and then you go get feedback and you iterate that and improve upon that. Like, Gaurav, you're a growth expert. You know that growth is largely about iterating on big ideas, right? And what happened, the customer experience is no different. You have to deliver idea, and then you have to iterate on it week after week, until that experience gets so good and so polished that your customers are 10x happier with that than they are with any other version of that experience they could get from anybody else. And if you could do those things in managing your customer relationships, you're going to increase connection, and increasing connection is going to lead to happier customers who are going to stick around longer, spend more, all of the things that are going to be really important to get through challenging economic times.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kipp. Thank you for taking the time. This was a great chat.
Happy to do it. Thanks so much for having me. I hope everybody enjoys the event.
Thank you, Kipp.